Happy video day, guys. So today we're going to be doing another Make Up Your Mind. And oh my goodness, guys, are the releases coming out. We've got so many holiday releases, literally, literally, every second. And today I just found out about a new one and they're launching it today. So you guys are going to be able to actually purchase this at Sephora while you're watching this video. And right when I heard about it, I said, I need to do a Make Up Your Mind as fast as possible so I can show you guys what I was able to find in my collection. And today's video is going to be on Rare Beauty. So Rare Beauty is releasing these two palettes. One is going to be called Confident Energy and the other one is Magnetic Spirit. They are each 6-pan palettes and I believe that they're all metallic-y or glittery kind of shades. And I don't know at this moment how much they're going to retail for. I will put it up here if I find out by the time this video airs, or if it's not on the screen, it's probably going to be in the description box. But when I found out that these two palettes were releasing, I kind of said, okay. And I started looking at their color story and I said, okay, I have to do a Make Up Your Mind. If you guys are new, Make Up Your Mind, what I do is I look through my collection so I can mimic a color story of a brand new palette. So what I do is I swatch it on my arm. I kind of come up with what the same color story is going to look like so that I can decide whether this is a color story that I like. I share with you guys my thoughts on what I think, if I think the colors are going to mix good together, if I think it's a palette that I really need in my collection, and I share with you guys everything I'm thinking about it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get into everything. I've got everything swatched on my arms. I think I was able to find these palettes pretty spot on. That is what we're going to do. So if you guys are new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the family. And of course, this week's Insta challenge, these are all the people who guessed correctly. So now let's go ahead and let's get straight into the Make Up Your Mind. Okay, so we've got two palettes to tackle and I did get both of them and I was sitting here swatching like a little swatching bee and I looked through all of my collection and I was able to find pretty similar color stories in a few different palettes. I did break it apart. I will show you guys at the end of the video a few palettes that I think have this similar color story already in them. But let's go ahead and let's start off with the first one that is purple. So this purple tone palette, I have to tell you guys, I feel like I was able to find it and it was easier for me to find than the other palette that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. This palette, these colors are not something that we have not seen. I feel like we have seen these type of tones a lot lately, and I feel like we do have these type of colors in our collection probably already. So most of the colors came out of the Lila palette from Natasha Denona for me. I did also add in the Jaclyn Hill palette to grab one shade, and the last palette that actually gave me two shades was from the Khaki Obsessions from Huda Beauty. That's the way I was able to really get this color story so I could really analyze it and see what I think of it. And I have thoughts. I have thoughts. But let's go ahead and let's get into the first color. So for the very first color, this looks to me like a very pale purple. It's a pretty color. It's one that I actually would probably use. I found it inside of Natasha Denona's Lila palette. So it looks a lot like Hilo right here in the Natasha Denona palette, but because I think it has a little bit more purple, I just dabbed into Livid to kind of mix them together to create a tone that I think looks a lot closer to what's coming out in this palette. That color is very pretty. That's a very nice lid topper shade. You can also use that in the inner corner. It's a very pretty shade, especially when it's mixed with brown. It also looks good with taupes that lean a little warmer. I think that that color looks amazing with that. So it's a very pretty color. Very pretty color. But then when we go on to the next one to me is a tone that every time I see these like purple themed palettes, I always see this color. So what I did was I jumped into this color called Purple inside of the Lila palette. I feel like this one is giving me a very, very similar color to the color that I'm seeing coming out of here. It doesn't look to me, at least not from the swatches that were released, that it's going to be a shocking purple or a shocking pink. It's going to be like one of those in-between colors. This is not a tone I tend to use very often. Like, I really honestly am not the type to use this color very much. And I do have enough of this kind of color. It's not one that's gonna make me say, I need to buy this palette. So if we go on to the next one is also another one that I personally feel like is not a tone that I love. So if we go into Lila again, there's the color Amethyst. This is a very pretty color in Lila, but I feel like it's going to have a little bit of a deeper tone to it. So I just dabbed into this color just a little bit, just to deepen out this purple so it won't be so shocking. And when you deepen it out, it does get a little bit of a deeper purple. I like the color. I don't use that color very often. Honestly, for me, this type of color, I would have liked it better in a matte tone than I like it in a metallic, because I don't tend to put this type of metallic on my lid. So the first 3 shades, I'm going to be 100% honest, only one of them interests me. The other 2, if I'm going to use those colors, I am going to use my Lila, because they're very similar to 2 tones that I have in Lila, and I need to use Lila. So the first 3 honestly are not selling me on the palette. So if we keep on going, now is where you start saying, okay, well, you've only got 3 left. You really, you got to make me want you. So the next one, what I did was I jumped into Jaclyn Hill. This is going to be more of like a highlighter shade. So I feel like it's going to look like this color right here in Jaclyn Hill. It's a very bright, creamy white, and it does an amazing highlight job. I feel like it's going to be something similar to that one. If it even went a little bit more purpley undertoned, which I don't think it does. Lila also has one right here that looks very similar to that, and I don't think it's going to go in that direction. I am going with the idea that it's going to be more of like a highlight shade. I have a lot of that shade in a lot of palettes. So right now, nothing's making me jump. Like, it's not making me jump. The next 2 colors I need to really love. So I jumped into Khaki Obsessions for the next one. I do love this color. It's this color right here. It looks very similar to this peachy tone inside the Khaki Obsessions. I love this color. I do like this color very much. It is a color I tend to use a lot. I love to use this color with greens. I think it's just very stunning. I do like it. The next one, also inside of Khaki Obsessions, when I was looking at the swatches, this is one that kind of confuses me, because in the pan, it almost looks more green. In the swatch, it looks a little bit more brown. So I am going to go with the idea of something closer to Khaki Obsessions and this color right here, which is a brownish green. That's what I'm just going to go with, and they were right next to each other, and I figure, if anything, it'll probably be similar to that. I think it might be similar to that. It's going to be a greenish brown. That's where I'm going, and based off of the swatches, that's the closest I can get, because off of the swatches they released today on Instagram, and I think it's going to go in that direction. So that basically rounds out this palette for me, and looking at it swatched on my arm, I do feel like I was able to find it. Of course, I'll give you guys my thoughts after we go over the next palette. The next one is the one that's more green. It's the colors that I have on my lid today. So of course, guys, I try to mimic a look that you can probably create if you purchase the palette, and this would be the palette that I created on my lids. If you guys want to see how I did this, I will have it up on Christina Brooke Beauty on Instagram. But this one here is the more creative, I guess, palette. The one that they put like the shocking colors. This is something we've seen. This is something that they were trying to do a little bit more daring and different. And I will say, this one, believe it or not, I feel like I have a lot of palettes that have very, very similar color stories, which I will share with you guys. But in this case, I did actually have to just, pick a few that I wanted to use. So what I did was I used the Alamar Cosmetics palette, which I really feel like has a very similar color story. I actually grabbed a few colors from this Jaclyn Hill palette. And finally, there was one tone here that I really didn't have in any of the other palettes that I pulled, so I did grab it from the Violet Voss Rainbow. And that's basically the palettes that I was able to use to create this. Like I said, there's some other palettes that I will share with you guys at the end of the video that I feel like has a very, very similar color story that if you guys own it, you may already have a lot of these tones. But let's jump into the first one. So the first one is a pretty like limey tone. I have a very similar color to this inside of my Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions, but because I didn't want to pull so many palettes and I already had this one out, it has this color right up here. This is basically almost the same color, but what I did just to deepen it out just a tad was I dabbed into this color right here, and it does make it a little bit more limeish. So I feel like it's going to be like that. So it's going to be a limeish green. I have a love-hate relationship with this. There's a problem with these limes for me. If they put too much yellow into them, they get very like limey, and I don't love that real limey look. I like them to have a little bit more green blue into them where they look a little bit more subtle, and I feel like I can use them in the inner corner, and I also love to put them all over the lid. I feel like this one is actually going to go more yellow, which is not my favorite kind of lime. So the first tone, even though it is a pretty color, I don't think this is going in the color of this type of lime that I like. The next one, I actually went into Alamar again, and I jumped into this blue right next door, right here. This blue looks very, very similar. I do think that this is going to be a very similar tone, very similar. This type of blue also in this metallic form, I feel like I've seen it so many times. I have a lot of palettes already that have like that kind of blue in it, but the Alamar one really kind of looked very similar. So I do think that that one's gonna be pretty close. So the next one I actually had to jump into Jaclyn Hill because they did include a color that, you know, was not part of that color story. And I do feel like they kind of jumped around a little bit, so it wouldn't be like totally like a typical color story. But I did jump into these two colors right here in Jaclyn Hill. They're two brown metallics. When you mix them together, you do create a color that I think looks so close. Kind of like a deep brown with a little bronze in it. You probably also have a lot of this type of tone inside of the Metropolis palette or also in the gold from Natasha. But I do feel like I have seen this color pretty often. Like, I don't think that this is either one of those colors that I would like really jump for. So the first three colors in this one is also making me start off a little bit not too excited, you know? So the next one, I actually jumped into the Violet Voss palette, and I had to jump into this color called Buttercup. Now, Buttercup is a very strong yellow gold, which, I don't know, if you guys are new to my channel, you probably don't know how much I love yellow gold. I can't stand yellow gold. I literally don't like yellow gold. I feel like it's that color that you see so often that you're tired of seeing. Like, it's like fuchsia to me right now. Like, I really don't want to see yellow gold anymore. And to think this one is like a very strong yellowy gold, I don't know. It's just, this is like a very summery palette, very summery. So now if I go on to the next one, I just jumped into Jaclyn Hill and I grabbed that same exact white because I think it's going to be very similar to this cream highlight shade. I think that these two whites in both of the palettes are going to be pretty close. They may be like a tad different, but in the swatch, to me, they looked almost the same. So I just used the same color because they might have a different undertone, like maybe just a tad, but I don't know if it's going to make a difference on the lid. And then for the last color, the last color here, I just stayed in Jaclyn Hill because I found that she does have some like peachy tones. And if you grab this color right here and you just mix it a little bit with this color, when they mix together, they create a lighter peach tone. And oh my goodness, it looks so similar. Like when I swatched it out, I was like, oh my God, but that looks so close. It really does. It looks very, very, very close. And that rounds out this palette. That rounds out the palette. Those are all the tones in here. And I feel like you guys probably are already kind of sensing my excitement with these palettes. I don't really love either one of these, okay? I don't think that either one of these are like horrible color stories. They're not horrible. I just feel like it's just a lot of colors and a lot of metallic fun colors. Like maybe this would be a very nice gift to give somebody like for the holidays, or maybe if you don't have a lot of makeup and you just want to add like these fun little pops of color, it would be a cool thing to add. But I just feel like being a first launch of an eyeshadow palette for a brand, I was expecting something along the line of the launch that she did with her foundations and the blushes, and everything was about inner beauty and very minimal makeup. And I just thought like a first eyeshadow launch would be something in like a nudie family or something that went along with that vibe. And then when we get these like bright, fun colors, I almost feel like this should have been like after a main palette. And it kind of threw me off a little bit because it just doesn't really go 100% with what I was envisioning the brand's first launch of an eyeshadow palette would be. I mean, let's be honest, eyeshadow palettes really are like for a brand, you know? So this is a brand that I loved their first launch. I really love their foundation. I think that their concealer is actually really good. The lip products are awesome. The blush to me didn't work out that great, but then again, I got a sample. This brand I was excited to see an eyeshadow palette from because first off, I want to try the formula. But these don't excite me enough to pick them up. And they don't even excite me enough to want to even try the formula. They just kind of have me not that interested. So Unfortunately, I'm gonna make up my mind and say on both of these, I don't wanna pick either one up, and I'm not going to. Now, even if the price tag is like $12 or like something very, very minimal, which I don't think it's gonna be that cheap, but even if it's super, super, super inexpensive, it's not worth it to me. It's just neither one of these are really calling me and saying, Christina, this is so you, or you really need those extra tones in your collection. I also don't love that they're all metallic. And being so vibrant going into the fall season, I just feel like they were a little off. The Celestial Divinity that released for Pat McGrath, it was like an array of a lot of really cool colors, but you had a bunch of deep tones in there that it made a little bit more sense going into holiday. Like, I don't know, it just made more sense. These look very summer, springy to me, and I just don't see myself using these colors right now. So it would be something I would save until the spring or the summer of next year. If you're out there and you like these and you want something metallic for your collection and you just want a palette that's small and has a lot of metallics, personally, out of the two of them, I think this one here is just going to give you a little bit more looks. This one here is going to just be like a lot more toppers. But I don't know if you'd want to use all these colors actually together. I mean, you can do a very peacocky eye, which is cute, but I just don't see everybody loving that. So I feel like out of both of these, this one right here would be the more wearable and this one would be the more fun. But I personally think you need mattes. When you're playing with deeper colors, you kind of have to, you know, give it a little bit of something. You gotta fix up those edges. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I want to know from you guys down below. What do you guys think of the color story alone? Obviously, I don't know the formula. That would be very interesting, and I hope that she releases a palette that interests me enough to want to pick it up to try her formula. To me, it just wasn't exciting enough. And I don't mean just colors. I don't mean that they had to have like the coolest, brightest colors in the world. Something very simple could be as exciting as something super vibrant. It's just the way it's put together, and I feel like these were not 100% there. But I feel like it's been there, done that. And then this one was cool, but I also feel like been there, done that. So I'm going to show you guys really quickly two palettes. So if you guys look at the Alamar, one that has like the blues and stuff, the Alamar Cosmetics, like this literally gives you a very similar look. So if you guys picked up this palette from ColourPop, do you guys remember the Mar palette? This palette right here is almost giving you a very similar vibe to what she's releasing on this side. And I'm going to just throw this out there. If you guys have the Juvia's Place Masquerade Mini, like I feel like if you have this palette right here, you've got a few of like the main tones between the purples and the blues that you kind of got everything almost inside of this one palette. And like I told you guys already, and you guys already saw, I feel like the Natasha Denona Lila palette is like literally almost this palette. There's some colors in here that are not close enough for me to have used in Make Up Your Mind, but you're gonna create very similar looks using this. Like you could only use this and come out with very similar looks. So that is my opinion on this, but I want to know yours. Leave me your comments down below. Do you guys think that there's a palette that's a little bit closer? Are you guys more interested in this than I am? Let me know down below. Is there a palette that you think is closer in color? People love to read those things because they like to decide on their own, and maybe you guys have palettes that I don't have and it'll help somebody out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next Make Up Your Mind. Bye.